So Trump supporters are...
let's look at this.
Okay.
This is, we got Trump supporters who are protesting out in front of the Capitol today because the Republicans have stabbed them in the back. And I just want to make it clear. The Republicans have stabbed the Trump people in the back, and the Trump people have stabbed the Republicans in the back, and they're all the same people, and they should all definitely be fighting. And so I play this clip with, it's really heartbreaking to see this.
Cop on cop or white on white crime.
There we go.
Let's go. Hey, let's go. Let's go.
It's, I will say this, the amount of restraint that I'm seeing there, like I don't see any billy clubs whipping people. Now I'm not saying that there should be, but I think it's
Absolutely
quite clear
not.
that there is a different standard when you're dealing with these protesters and others. I mean, the way that the Proud Boys were attacking the cops last night. I mean, it's where are the rubber bullets? Where are the audio cannons? I mean, it is. I
mean, they literally, I'm teeing this up, they're trying to break into the Capitol building.
Yep.
Right now. I mean, we're seeing this right now.
Here's some more.
How you doing, pepper spray, fucking pepper, pussy? Fucking pussy!
It looks like there's a Proud Boy contingent there.
100%.
There is. They've evacuated the Madison and Cannon buildings at the Capitol.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, can you honestly imagine, like, if these were Black Lives Matters protesters,
terrorists,
like, the terrorists, the Antifa, they would be. I mean, there would be mass arrests. There would be water cannons. It really is pretty stunning.
And again, we bring this back to the Republican responsibility. These over 100 Congress members, these 12, 13 senators who are pretending like Trump actually might have had a chance to win the election. They are instigating. They are directly responsible for this kind of rioting, potential violence. Like, I mean, if they want to actually claim that because the left progressive lawmakers are supportive of Black Lives Matter and maybe not Black people getting executed by cops in the streets and maybe some justice for them, as we aren't seeing in Jacob Blake, as we covered, right? If they're going to claim that they're in any way responsible for the protests and the damage that's done there, how are they not taking any responsibility for the fact that they're undermining what's left of this shabby democracy at every turn and pushing us further and further towards authoritarianism and a potential 2024 candidate who's going to just disregard the election results and stack the courts and do this? Do they have any responsibility for this clash with cops? Because I know they do.
The Republican president invited these people. This was a formal rally. Yeah, I mean, can you imagine, like, the idea of Barack Obama, going to I don't know, the protests in St. Louis. I mean, or Barack Obama going to Kenosha, or when he was president,
terrorist sympathizing,
and having a
radical
rally, and then all of a sudden they're like, this is just, it's absurd.
And Trump, Matt Brendan sent this. Trump said he was going to walk with these guys down to Congress and they were going to walk in together. And it's going to be like the Edmund Pettus bridge of everyone linking arm in arm except for racist lunatics, right? And then he, of course, goes in his fancy armored limo.
I couldn't actually walk.
I couldn't walk with the plebs.
We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. I love Pennsylvania Avenue. And we're going to the Capitol, and we're going to try and give, the Democrats are hopeless. They're never voting for anything, not even one vote. But we're going to try and give our Republicans, the weak ones, because the strong ones don't need any of our help. We're going to try and give them the kind of pride and boldness that they need to take back our country. So let's walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. I want to thank you all. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you all for being here. This is incredible. Thank you very much.
We're going to take back our country from the majority of the country who voted me out. We're going to take it back. He's the president. Who's he taking it back from?
Again,
the Republicans control the Senate as of yesterday.
This could have just been one man thrashing about in his ego, and he could have made a spectacle of himself.
Right.
It is the complicity of the Republican Party and their authoritarian ideology that's creating this, and it's not going to end here. It's never going to end here. We're seeing this in Pennsylvania. We're going to see it throughout other state legislatures across the country. Anti-democracy is going to snowball in the GOP. And then they'll project and pretend like it's the Democrats, it's the progressives who hate the Constitution as they march further and further towards authoritarianism. Craziness.
Let's go to the phones. Calling from a 256 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, good afternoon, Sam. This is Jacob from Alabama.
Jacob from Alabama. What's on your mind?
Well, with the Democrats winning in Georgia, I think, and you had a caller call in and talk about the PRO Act, y'all talked about how that would be good for unions, good for the ability of people to organize, and if you've got the time, I was wondering if it would be helpful to elaborate on that.
Your phone is bad. Jacob,
no.
Back off just a little bit. I mean, here's the thing is that I don't know. And I don't know if they're going to be able to pass the PRO Act. I would imagine that's something that would be not function under, it could be filibustered, and not something that would necessarily work in the context of reconciliation. But yeah, briefly give us an understanding of it.
Right. Is this a little bit better? I'm a little bit further away.
It's a lot worse.
It's a lot worse. Come a little bit closer.
Okay, how's this?
That's better.
Okay. Sorry about that. I'm not sure what the deal is there. And aside from the PRO Act, though, Joe Biden did he made some really big promises to the labor movement in front of like a rally of steelworkers, I think it was. He promised to criminally prosecute union busters or look into it or something. He floated the idea independently. And, with the Amazon union drive down here in Alabama, I think that he and his attorney general nominee, Merrick Garland, they should be pushing that, really making good on their promises now that they've got the ability to kind of act via executive policy. But as far as the PRO Act, you're right. I don't think it could go through budget reconciliation. I think you would have to eliminate the filibuster to do that, and I think that's going to be really, really hard. Joe Manchin is obviously going to be one of the people standing in the way of that.
Yep.
I would hope that we could get
President Manchin.
Right, President Manchin. And I'd hope that we could get the mine workers in West Virginia to really push him to consider being in favor of eliminating filibuster specifically to pass the PRO Act. But
I'll tell you what I would do if I was Chuck Schumer. I'm not Chuck Schumer, but I would be talking to Joe Manchin about like, hey, send me a list of things that you think would be really great for West Virginia to get. Yeah. And boy, oh boy, wouldn't it be great if there was a stadium named after Joe Manchin Stadium or whatever it was. And that's basically what it's going to take. But I don't know that that's going to happen. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, I would be fine if we give every West Virginian a UBI.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever Joe Manchin wants, I think. But the PRO Act is really like, I don't want to understate kind of how big it would be for the labor movement. There are 5 broad categories, and the Economic Policy Institute, whose staff are unionized, by the way, with the nonprofit professional employees union, they have a really good breakdown of that. If you Google economic policy,
I have it right now. Yeah, you can go to the PROACT, the Working Economics blog at the EPI.
Yes.
And if you just put those in, you'll be able to find it. But you're right. There's five elements for it. Let's just go through it quick. The first is stronger, swifter remedies when employees interfere with workers' rights. That is under current law. There are no penalties on employers when they inhibit the right to organize. It's usually just like you got to back off and allow them to. So it would require the NLRB to go to court, get an injunction immediately, reinstate workers if they've been illegally fired. And that way, folks aren't out of a paycheck for a period of time. There's also more freedom to organize without employer interference. You tell me if there's something I'm missing here. It would allow basically the NLRB election process so you can petition to form a union and get a vote that happens quicker, so you don't have like months of attempts to inhibit organization or send propagandists in with like well done industrial videos showing about how great things are going to be here if there's no union.
Right.
Winning the first contract agreements when workers organize and protecting their fair share agreements. It would basically require employers to bargain in good faith with the union, which is chosen by employees, and it would deal with a whole set of issues that are workplace issues, wages.
Right, and it has binding arbitration if the employer does not bargain in good faith. That's not something that we have right now. It would override right to work laws in all 50 states. There are 27 states currently, including my own, that have right to work laws, which do not allow the union to bargain for a fair share clause in the contract, which fair share clauses, mandate as a condition of employment that you pay shorter than dues. You don't have to be a member, but you have to pay for your representation
agency
and the benefits
fees,
that you
right.
get from the union.
Yep, agency fees.
Yes, agency fees. It protects strikes and other protest activity. Taft-Hartley outlawed secondary strikes.
Right.
So, like, let's say you've got a widget manufacturer and they get, this part A for the widget, and the widget manufacturer workers are going on strike. Well, the people who manufacture the part A for the widget, they could also go on strike to put more pressure on that employer. That's something that workers had a lot of success doing before Taft-Hartley. That's why Taft-Hartley was passed. Obviously, there are a lot of impediments to that. Currently, under the current system, you've got a lot of no strike clauses that are going to make it difficult, but it would open the legal avenue for secondary strikes, which would allow workers to broaden their horizon, broaden the bounds, expand the bounds of their solidarity beyond their own workplace, which I think is important for organizing working people around the country.
Of course. I mean, this, you need to, this allows for strikes broadly in sectors as opposed to specific shops. And then the last thing is that it would, and people should understand this, that when you have a company that has, folks who are, we have specific employees, and then we have contractors, and we have, people who act as managers. What will happen is, if people want to unionize, the management will sometimes say like, oh, well, these people aren't really workers. They're managers, or they're actually not doing this type of work or that type of work. So they're not eligible to form a union together. The fifth element of the PRO Act would essentially streamline that and make it much harder for people to be excluded from a class, if you will, of people who could unionize together. And so, I think like this is a good thing to talk about. People should be aware of it. I just don't think that we're in like this is going to be a bit of a reach. One of the things that we're going to focus on, and I appreciate the call, Jacob, and we will get more to this in the future, but for the time being, the big focus is going to be on what you can do through reconciliation and what Biden can do unilaterally with existing laws. So there are things that you could do, and to strengthen or to reinvigorate labor law that is not being pursued, that where the laws are already in the books. But this is something that, maybe we're only a couple of senators away from doing this in 2 years. But we will bring that we will raise this stuff as we go on.